Hey, what's up guys? So today I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on a 2015 Lexus IS350. So for the IS350 you need roughly 6.6 quarts, 0W20. So I'm using 0W20 Castro Edge, fully synthetic. So the parts you'll need for the oil change is the oil filter element, which is right here. It comes with a new O-ring for the housing, and you should get a new washer for the drain plug. This is the part number for a 10-pack. So this is a special tool you need to get the filter cover off. This is a Motive X Tools brand. I just bought it off Amazon. Pretty much any brand should work. You just want to make sure it looks stout. This is a cast aluminum, and you can use a ratchet or breaker bar on it. This is a 3/8 drive, and it is a 27mm socket size. And so my only recommendation to you would be do not use the drive, just because this is a kind of a cheap cast aluminum. Last time when I used a breaker bar and a drive, the outward force of this, using a drive in here, cracked it halfway. So I always use, ever since then, I always use a socket now. The one that cracked is not this brand. I don't know what brand it was, but this is almost the same. It's just a cast aluminum. So ever since I've been using the socket, because it's on the, fits on the outside, there's been no problems. And depending on how low your car is and how low your jack goes, you may need ramps like this, and you're going to want to jack it up from the center jack point right underneath the subframe, underneath the engine. That way you can get a jack stand on each left and right side of the vehicle in order for you to get underneath the car safely.
The locations where you'll want to place the jack stands are marked by the arrow embossed into the side skirts. The pinch weld has 2 notches in it, and you'll want to place the jack stands between those 2 notches on both the left and right sides of the vehicle. So the pinch welds on the Toyotas are not super reinforced. They're not really durable and strong like some Hondas. So when you have a jack stand like this type where it's not very deep, it doesn't have a deep valley in the middle, it tends to bend and deform the pinch weld, as mine is a little bit. So I ended up purchasing this adapter piece, rubber adapter for this type of jack stand that I have, meant to go on top like this in order to save the pinch weld and allow the vehicle to be supported properly.
So step 1 is to release this oil drain bolt, and it is a 14mm. So I have my 14mm wrench. Take note that the oil drain bolt washer is stuck onto the pan, so you want to make sure that when you do put a new washer on, you don't accidentally stack 2 washers on there, because that's going to make you have an oil leak. So make sure to remove that old washer before you put on the new one. So it's slowed to a drip. I'm going to go ahead and peel off the washer. I'm going to install the new washer on the drain bolt. I cleaned up the drain bolt, put the new washer on. The torque spec for the drain bolt is 30 foot-pounds. So the second step is to open up the access panel. There's 3 10mm bolts holding it in. Just slide the access panel forward. In order to release it, you have access to the oil filter assembly, which is right here. So this is the aluminum housing. Inside is the filter element that we're just going to replace. So this is a relatively easy job. You can see that the filter cover has 2 tabs on either side, and your tool is going to have the same tabs that are going to line up with those. So you just fit it on there. And I should mention that the oil is going to start coming out of this spot right here. This is where the 2 halves meet. So you see oil starting to come out now. There's an O-ring on this outside cover, so that's why oil just started to come out right now. So I'm gonna keep releasing it until it has a good drip of oil. So I have the dirty oil filter on the bench here, so all you do is just remove it like that. You don't want to pour all this out onto your oil pan. And then in order to replace this O-ring, you want to grab either a pick or a small screwdriver like so, and be very careful to release it. It's really easy to get off, but you do not want to jam it in here and damage this mating surface. So you're just gonna get it in there and in order to take it off. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just clean this area up. So once you have this all cleaned up, you're gonna wanna grab the new O-ring. And very important, before install, you're gonna wanna lubricate this because it's gonna be turning when you twist this on. Without lubrication, you have a chance of tearing this O-ring. And so you definitely don't want to tear this O-ring, and then you're gonna have a massive oil leak. So grab a little bit of fresh oil and just kind of get it up on there, on the O-ring. Like that. And now you want to make sure the next most important part is making sure it's in the correct groove. So you're going to want to get it in this next groove right down here. Like that. Make sure you got it in that center groove, not down below and not up here. And install the new filter element. Doesn't matter which way it goes on. Just like that. And you're ready to install it back on the car. So as far as torque spec goes for this, it actually shows you what the torque spec is on the housing. It's 25 plus or minus 5 Newton meters. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this area up. So I have the filter assembly here with the oiled O-ring. Alright. 18 foot-pounds is not very much. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a really nice snug right now. So quick tip for you guys. So now that we got the drain bolt in and the filter in, I'm going to fill it up with oil. Before I drop the car onto the ground, before I put this access panel back on, I'm going to fill the car engine with oil and I'm going to start the engine. That way I'm going to be able to see if there's any leaking. If there, you know, the O-ring got damaged by accident, if there's any oil leakage. Because if I have this panel on, it's going to take a little bit for the oil to get through this panel and drip onto the ground to notify me that there's something wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first, fill up the oil, and start the car. So now I'm going to fill up the engine with oil. So I have a 5-quart jug here. Knowing that the engine takes 6.6 quarts, I'm just going to go ahead and dump this whole thing in. So I'm going to put about 1 more quart in. So I put in about 6 quarts total. I'm going to start the engine, button up the car, confirm there's no leaks, and then I'll put the last bit of oil in to make sure it's between the right levels. Now I can install the access panel back in. And so with the access panel installed and confirmed 0 oil leaks, we will lower the car back down and check the oil level and top it off as necessary. Now we're going to check the oil level and adjust if needed. Alright, so it's probably hard for you guys to see, but after filling up about half a quart more, we're right up about at the second dot. So that means the oil level is good, and that means you're all done with your oil change.